Welcome to Ask a Garden Coach. I'm Carolyn May, and today I'm going to show you how to get free dahlias. Woo! Dahlias are kind of a big deal right now. It seems everybody is growing dahlias and is obsessed with dahlias. There's a lot of jokes going around about dahlia being like the Hunger Games in trying to find the varieties you want. All you need to do is buy a single tuber, and if you know how to take cuttings, you can make 5 to 10 plants from one this spring. Steps to propagate your dahlia cuttings. 1, get a dahlia. 2, get some soil medium. Get it kind of damp, not wet, just damp. Just damp enough that it's not going to rob moisture from your dahlia tubers. Step 3, take a dahlia tuber and plop it into the soil. You can lay them horizontally, lay them flat, and the eyes will sprout upwards, or you can fit more into a smaller container like this and put them in vertically, and they will sprout eyes. Here I have 3 tubers from one variety because it was one, I had one plant last year and it made 5 tubers, and I thought I want more of that one because it was a really beautiful little ball dahlia called Holly Hill Liz. And so I'm going to propagate it. To take the cuttings, you want to get the dahlias to about this size. This one here is a little on the big side, but it'll work just fine. This one's pretty good here. And then I have one that I took already that is a little droopy, but I think it's going to make it just fine. To take the dahlia cuttings, there's 2 ways to do it. You can either do the wiggle method, or you can do the cutting method. To take your dahlia cutting, you're going to grab onto it very securely, and you're just going to start wiggling it back and forth, and it will come off just like that. To plant it, you carefully remove those lowest leaves. I might pop this one off here too. And so then that's my cutting. You can see I don't have a lot of greenery up here, but too much leafy material like this one had, and it'll start to dry out, and that takes away from the possibility of it rooting. This one, I don't know. I think it'll still root because the center part here looks good, but these outer leaves are likely going to not make it. There's 2 ways you can plant them. You can either do them in a tray like this and do just a few different ones growing in here. And then as they grow, once they have new roots, you'll have to pluck them out and divide them into different trays. Or if you have ones like this, which this one I think is my preferred method, you make a hole in the bottom, you take that same one and you put it in so that at least this part here is below the soil. It might root there at this spot. It'll root wherever there's a node. A node is where the leaves come off the plant. So you get roots here, you might get roots here, you might get roots here if it's below the soil, but just this much below is enough. Put it in there, nestle it in, and then the last part with this is you need to cover it. Here I have a milk jug that I cut. There you go. Recycled humidity dome. And keeping that humidity nice and high, misting those leaves regularly, and in probably anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, you'll have roots growing on that. Now the other one, you can see I have this little tuber. Notice the different sizes. This was the mother tuber, the one I planted last year. And then here you have a really small one. And now this one here, the eye hasn't even started popping on this one. And I thought this would be the strongest one. There you go. But this one is doing great. And so I'm going to take the cutting off of this one. Now I wiggled this tuber. The other way of doing it is actually removing a little piece of the tuber itself with that cutting. So to do that method, you take your snips. I'm gonna have to turn it around a little bit. Sorry. Okay. Here. And I'm going to, where am I gonna do this? I'm actually going to remove like that. So when I look at this, there's not a lot, but you can see there's a little piece of the tuber itself attached to that. So when I did that, I actually removed the eye on this plant. Now, you might say, oh no, you removed the eye. Is it still going to grow? Okay, look at this mother tuber here that I did before. The wiggle method, you'll have new eyes. Here, get my pointer. And I dropped it. Hold on. When you look at the mother tuber, I did the wiggle method. So a new eye is popping up right next to where I took that first one. But then here, notice there's an eye there. There's an eye down here that's going. And so once I took, this is where I took the very first eye. And this is where the second eye came off. So the first eye, second one came right off of it. There's another one right down there. So that's how you can take 5, sometimes 10 cuttings off of one tuber in a season. Okay. So this one here, if I'm going to plant it, I'm going to take off those bottom leaves, just kind of peel them off because I don't need that much green material to photosynthesize. Too much green means it's going to dry out. You don't need a lot. You're trying to put all the energy into growing roots at the bottom. Now, you can use rooting hormone, and that will aid in the rooting happening faster, but there's a ton of auxin, which is the hormone needed to root. There's a ton of auxin in dahlias. Dahlias grow really well, and I have had tons of success, and I don't use rooting hormone. A few tips to grow your dahlia tubers this way to get free dahlias. Let's see, lots of light. If you're doing it outside, keep it indirect, not direct light, because that can fry your leaves. If you're doing it inside under grow lights, perfect. Keep the humidity dome on them until you see new leaves coming. So that center part where the leaves are going to form, when they start to open up and you see new life, that's a sign that there's probably roots down below. And so once you see that, you can carefully take out your little dahlia cuttings, pot them into something bigger, get them about to be, well, this is a dahlia seedling, but at least that big where they have 1, 2, 3 to 4 sets of leaves. And once they're that size, they can go in the garden. Warmth is important too. I didn't say that, but keep them in a warm spot. So indoor temperatures like 68, 75 is really, really good. Anything cooler, the roots might form, but it's going to take them longer. So the best rooting possibility, keep them in a nice warm temperature, in a nice bright place, in a high humidity, but not wet. And you're going to have free plants before you know it. One thing with that, if you take 10 cuttings off of one tuber, you will have likely depleted that tuber of all of its nutrients. And so it probably won't perform very well if you put it into the garden. However, if you got that one tuber you bought and you might have taken 2 or 3 or 4 cuttings from it, can you still plant it? Absolutely. Oftentimes it'll have a sprout already on it. You can just stick that right in the garden and you'll be off to the races. Let's see. Yep, I don't have any more questions today. So that's pretty much it. Free dahlias. You want them? Do it. If you try this, tag me. I would love to see what you are doing. You can find me on Instagram at mykitsaproots, or you can find me on Facebook, or if you make YouTube, tag me on that. I would love to see. Please leave your dahlia questions down below. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Help us grow more gardeners by building this community together. Thank you so much, and we will see you in the next one. Sha-na-na-na-na-na-na. That wasn't a very good one. Are we ready?
Yeah, I'm waiting for you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. You're looking at your phone and...
I'm bored.
Okay.